I used to believe love could survive anything, even betrayal, even silence, even time. My name is Ethan Carter. I'm 36 years old, and 3 months ago I found out my wife of 15 years had been cheating on me. It happened on our anniversary. 15 years married, 20 years together. I came home early from a business trip, a small surprise, a gesture to remind her that despite our rough patch, I still remembered the woman I once couldn't live without. The one whose laughter filled every empty room, whose voice could silence my chaos. I was carrying flowers, lilies, her favorite. The apartment was dark except for the faint light spilling out from the bedroom. Music was playing. Soft jazz, the kind she used to play when she was painting. I smiled. Maybe I thought she was planning a surprise for me too. Maybe we still had something worth saving. But when I opened the bedroom door, everything inside me died. There she was, Claire, my wife, the woman who had shared my bed, my dreams, my life. And with her, another man. It wasn't the sex that broke me. It was her face, that look of passion, the one she used to reserve for me, now belonged to someone else. She didn't even notice me at first. When she finally looked up, her expression changed from pleasure to horror. "Ethan," she gasped, pulling the sheets up to her chest as if the thin fabric could hide what I'd just seen. The man scrambled, half naked, mumbling something about leaving. He didn't even look at me. And I just stood there, frozen. The flowers slipped from my hand, petals scattering like the pieces of my heart. I didn't yell. I didn't hit him. I didn't even cry. I just said quietly, 15 years, Claire. You couldn't wait one more day?" Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. I turned around, walked out, and closed the door behind me. That's when the sound hit. A muffled sob, a desperate "wait!" But it was too late. I was already gone. That night, I sat in my car for 3 hours outside the apartment. I didn't drive anywhere, didn't call anyone, just stared at the steering wheel, trying to make sense of a life that had just collapsed. People think betrayal is like a clean cut, sharp, quick, devastating. But it's not. It's a slow bleed. Every memory, every shared laugh, every morning coffee together, it all starts to rot in your mind. When I finally drove off, I didn't go home. I went to a motel by the interstate, the kind of place that smells like cigarette smoke and lost dreams. I stared at the ceiling until morning. 3 days later, I returned to the apartment. Claire was there, waiting for me. Mascara streaked, eyes red, hands trembling around a coffee mug. "Ethan," she said softly, "please let me explain." "Explain?" I laughed, a sound I barely recognized. "You mean justify. It wasn't supposed to happen." "Don't," I said sharply. "Don't you dare say it wasn't supposed to happen. You made a choice, Claire, over and over." Her lip trembled. "It was only once." I cut her off. "Don't lie to me again. I saw the messages." That part was true. The morning after, I'd checked her phone records. There were dozens of late-night calls, text messages under saved contact names that meant nothing. A pattern of deceit that stretched back months. The man's name was Adam Hale, a co-worker, one she'd mentioned a few times in passing. "He's harmless," she'd said once when I'd teased her about him. Turns out, he wasn't harmless. Neither was she. "You were bored, weren't you?" I said coldly. "Tired of the man who worked 2 jobs to build this life for you. Tired of the house, the comfort, the same face. Tears streamed down her face, but I didn't feel pity. Not anymore. "Ethan, please," she whispered. "It meant nothing. You're the one I love." That word, love, felt like poison in her mouth. I walked past her, grabbed my things, and headed for the door. "Where are you going?" she asked, her voice cracking. "Anywhere you're not." And I left again. For 2 months, I lived like a ghost. Work, gym, home, repeat. The apartment felt cold, even after she moved out. Everything reminded me of her. The paintbrushes she left behind, the faint smell of her perfume, the silence where her laughter used to be. People said I should let go, move on, but they didn't understand. It wasn't just that she'd cheated. It was that she'd killed the version of me that believed in her. One night, after too many drinks, I did something reckless. I called one of my friends, Lucas, a coworker who'd always been a little too charming for his own good. The kind of guy who made everything sound like a good idea, even when it wasn't. "Ethan, man, it's been forever. How you holding up?" "I'm not," I said bluntly. He paused. "Want me to come over?" An hour later, he showed up with whiskey. We sat on the balcony, talking about everything except the thing that mattered. Finally, he said, "You know what you need? Payback. Women hate being ignored, but they hate being replaced even more." I frowned. "I'm not like that." He smirked. "You weren't. Until she made you this way." I didn't answer, but his words stuck. That night, as I stared out at the city lights, I realized he was right. She had taken everything from me. My peace, my pride, my trust. Why should she get to move on while I was still bleeding? So I made a decision. If she could betray me, I could learn how it felt to stop caring. The first time I downloaded a dating app, I felt like a teenager doing something forbidden. I wasn't looking for love, not even connection. I just wanted to forget. The swipes blurred together, faces, smiles, captions. None of it mattered. Until one message caught my attention. "You look like someone who's been hurt." Her name was Maya, 28, freelance photographer, confident, unapologetic. I replied, "You're not wrong." She sent back, "Good. Broken people make the best stories." We met 2 days later at a small bar downtown. She wasn't like Claire. Where Claire was gentle, Maya was bold. She laughed too loudly, spoke too honestly, lived too freely. With her, I didn't feel like a victim. One drink turned into two. 2 into 3. And before I knew it, I was kissing her in the back seat of my car, my wedding ring still sitting cold in my pocket. It wasn't love. It wasn't even attraction, really. It was defiance. A declaration to myself that Claire no longer owned me. When I woke up the next morning, the guilt hit me. But it was fleeting. Because for the first time in months, I felt something other than pain. Maya became a regular in my life. She didn't ask for promises, and I didn't offer any. We were two damaged people using each other to forget someone else. But word travels fast in small cities. 3 weeks later, I got a message from Claire. "Claire, you're seeing someone?" Me. "And?" Claire. "So soon?" Me. "You didn't seem to mind when it was your turn." She didn't reply. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I felt empty. Because the truth was, revenge didn't heal. It only spread the infection. But it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. A month later, I found out that Claire had been trying to get back with Adam. He'd turned her down. Word got around. People whispered. Her reputation began to crumble. And maybe, just maybe, I enjoyed it. But deep down, I knew this wasn't the end of our story. Because revenge might satisfy the mind. But the heart always demands closure. Revenge has a strange way of changing a man. At first, it feels like fuel. Powerful. Addictive. Then it starts to consume you. For weeks, I kept seeing Maya. She was my distraction, my escape, my self-inflicted punishment. She never asked questions about my past, and I didn't volunteer any answers. We'd meet at her studio, a cramped, chaotic space filled with half-finished photographs and the smell of darkroom chemicals. Sometimes I'd catch her studying me through her camera lens, like she was trying to capture something she couldn't name. "Why do you look sad when you smile?" she asked once, her voice soft, curious. I didn't answer. Because how could I explain that my life felt like a photograph, a perfect image hiding everything broken behind it? The thing was, Maya wasn't supposed to matter, but she started to. And that was dangerous, because part of me wasn't done with Claire. Not yet. One night, after too many drinks, I found myself scrolling through Claire's social media. Her profile was private now, but I could still see her profile picture. Her face half-turned, that same delicate smile I'd fallen for 20 years ago. But it wasn't the same. There was something hollow in her eyes. She was unraveling too, and for a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. The next morning I did something I hadn't done since the day I caught her. I texted her. "Me. We need to talk." "Claire. About what?" "Me. Closure. She agreed to meet. We met at the old cafe near the art district, the same one where we'd gone on our first date. She looked older than I remembered. Not physically, but in her eyes. Guilt ages you faster than time ever could. "Ethan," she said softly, sitting across from me. "I wasn't sure you'd ever speak to me again." I wasn't sure either. Silence stretched between us, heavy and fragile. Finally, I said, "Why him, Claire?" Her fingers trembled around her cup. "Because he made me feel wanted." I let out a bitter laugh. "Wanted? You had everything, a home, stability, me." "I know," she whispered, "but somewhere along the way, I stopped feeling seen. You were there, but you weren't with me anymore. You were always working, always tired. I wanted to yell, to tell her how hard I'd worked to give her everything. But part of me knew she wasn't wrong. Somewhere along the way, we'd stopped being partners and started being cohabitants. Two people sharing a life but not living it together. Still, that didn't excuse what she did. "You could have talked to me," I said finally. She nodded, tears welling. "I know, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life." Something shifted that day. Not forgiveness, not love. Something colder. I realized she still felt guilty, and guilt was leverage. And for the first time since the betrayal, I had the upper hand. That night, I called Lucas. "I need your help," I said. "With what?" "Something a little poetic." He laughed. "You want payback?" "Not just payback," I said quietly. "I want her to feel what I felt." Lucas had a plan. He always did. "She cheated on you because she thought she could," he said. "So, we make her think she still can, but this time, we pull the strings." The plan was simple, cruel, and brilliantly stupid. We'd make her believe I wanted to reconcile. Lucas would play the part of a friend who reconnected with her, someone who would slowly feed her information. He'd make her think I was lonely, lost, still in love. Meanwhile, I'd play along. I'd send her messages, late-night calls, small gestures, just enough to rebuild her hope. Then I'd take it all away. Cruel? Absolutely. But I told myself it was justice. The act began small. Akka? Hey, I saw something today that reminded me of you. A picture of the cafe where we first met. A song she used to love. Each text was a baited hook, and she bit every time. Do you ever think we could fix this? She wrote one night. I stared at the screen for a long time before replying, maybe. That single word set everything in motion. Weeks passed. We met for dinner once, then again. Every time she seemed lighter, happier. She'd reach for my hand across the table, eyes hopeful, and every time I'd pull away just slightly, enough to keep her chasing. I told myself I was getting even, that I was teaching her how betrayal felt. But the truth was, I was playing with fire. And somewhere deep down, I knew I was going to get burned. One night, after dinner, she kissed me. It was soft at first, hesitant, like testing old waters, then desperate. For a moment, I kissed her back. And in that split second, I remembered everything. The nights we stayed up talking, the way she used to whisper my name, the life we once built together. But when I opened my eyes, all I saw was the reflection of her lies staring back at me. I pulled away. She looked at me, confused, hurt. Ethan, what's wrong? I forced a smile. Nothing. I just need time. Then I left. That night, I didn't sleep. Because for the first time, revenge didn't feel like victory. It felt like grief wearing armor. I thought I could control it. The plan, the emotions, the fallout. But I couldn't. Because the more I tried to manipulate the story, the more it began to manipulate me. Claire started showing up at my place. Small excuses at first, dropping off old things, bringing coffee. Then one night she showed up crying. I can't do this anymore, she said, collapsing into my arms. I hate what I did. I hate who I became. I don't expect you to love me again, but please stop hating me. And there it was, the thing I never expected to feel again, compassion. I held her awkwardly at first, then tighter. For a moment, the noise in my head quieted. Maybe she wasn't a monster. Maybe we were both just broken. But then my phone buzzed. A message from Maya. Miss you. You left your jacket here. Should I bring it over? Claire saw the screen. Her face froze. Who's Maya? I didn't answer. Her expression changed, realization dawning like a cruel sunrise. Oh, she whispered. So that's what this was. Payback. Her voice broke on the last word. She stood, shaking her head. I thought maybe. We had a chance. Claire. But she was already gone. I didn't chase her. Because what would I even say? That she was right? That I'd built my whole healing process on punishing her? That I'd become the very thing I despised? The silence that followed was unbearable. For the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt shame. The same shame I'd seen in her eyes the day I caught her. That was when I finally understood something cruel and simple. Revenge doesn't restore balance. It just shifts the pain. That night, I went to Maya's place. Not for comfort, but for clarity. I can't do this anymore, I told her. You deserve someone who isn't still bleeding from someone else's wounds." She didn't argue. She just nodded. "Then go fix what's broken." I left, unsure of where I was even going. But I knew one thing. I was done living inside this loop of hate. It was time to face the wreckage I'd created. Chapter 7. Ghosts of What We Were. It's strange how silence can be louder than words. The days after Claire walked out of my apartment felt like punishment. Not from her, but from myself. I'd stare at the walls, at the memories still clinging to them. Every photo, every trace of her perfume in the air felt like a ghost that refused to leave. I used to think the hardest part of betrayal was the moment you found out. It's not. It's the emptiness that comes after, when there's no more anger left to hide behind. For the first time in months, I didn't want revenge. I wanted peace. But peace doesn't come easy when you've been at war for years. With her, with yourself, with your own reflection. The phone rang one night around midnight. Her name lit up the screen. For a long moment, I just stared at it. Then I answered. She didn't say anything at first, just quiet breathing, shaky and real. "Ethan," she said finally, "I'm sorry for everything." Her voice cracked halfway through, and suddenly I wasn't angry anymore. I was just tired. "Me too," I said quietly. We didn't say much after that, but that one call broke something. The wall we'd both built to keep ourselves from feeling. For the next few weeks, we started talking again. Not about love, not about getting back together, but about us. The real us. The messy, imperfect, broken pieces we never faced. She told me about her guilt, her shame, her sleepless nights replaying everything she did. I told her about the rage, the numbness, the revenge that hollowed me out. Some nights, we'd just sit on the phone in silence, breathing, saying nothing, but it felt like progress. Healing, I was learning, doesn't always look like forgiveness. Sometimes, it's just the decision to stop hurting each other. Then one night, she said something I didn't expect. "I want to tell you the whole truth." I froze. "I thought you already did." "I told you what happened," she said, "but I never told you why." She came over the next day. We sat in the kitchen, the same one where I once found her crying after our first big fight years ago. She looked different now. Softer somehow, like someone who'd finally accepted that pain doesn't erase love. "I didn't cheat because I stopped loving you," she began. "I did it because I stopped loving myself. Every time you pulled away, I thought it was my fault. I thought I wasn't enough. So when someone else made me feel wanted, I let it happen." Her eyes glistened. "It doesn't justify it, but that's the truth." I didn't know what to say, because for the first time, she wasn't making excuses. She was owning it. And somehow, that hurt more than the lies ever did. That night, after she left, I couldn't sleep. I walked around the house, our old house, the one we'd built together, and for the first time, I noticed how empty it felt without her laughter echoing off the walls. Maybe forgiveness wasn't about saying, "It's okay." Maybe it was about saying, "It happened, and I'm still standing." Months passed. We talked more, sometimes met for coffee. It wasn't romantic, not yet, but it was real. Maya had moved on. She sent me a photo once from some tropical beach, smiling with a new guy. I didn't feel jealousy, just relief. She deserved better than being someone's revenge. Claire, though. She was changing. Therapy, journaling, long walks instead of long arguments. For the first time in years, she wasn't running from herself. And for the first time in years, neither was I. We started seeing a couples therapist. Not because we were officially together, but because we both needed closure. The sessions were brutal. Every wound we'd buried got ripped open again. You both used pain as protection, the therapist said once. Ethan, you punished her to avoid forgiving her. Claire, you betrayed him to avoid feeling unseen. You both chose war over honesty. That line stuck with me. War over honesty. That was our marriage in a sentence. One night, after therapy, Claire asked me if I hated her. I thought about it. No, I said. I hate what we became, but I don't hate you anymore. She smiled sadly. That's progress. We sat in my car for a while after that, neither of us saying anything. The radio hummed softly, and for a moment, the world didn't feel broken. Then she said it. I still love you. My chest tightened. I don't know if I can ever love you the same way, I said honestly. But I think I want to try. Rebuilding love is nothing like falling in love. It's slow, awkward, painful, like learning to walk again after you've forgotten how. We started small. Sunday breakfasts, walks with our daughter, conversations without blame. Sometimes she'd reach for my hand and I'd hesitate, not because I didn't want to hold it, but because I didn't know if I deserved to. One evening we sat by the fire. Do you ever wish we could erase everything? She asked. No, I said. If we erased it, we'd never learn. She looked at me for a long moment, then leaned against my shoulder. Thank you for not giving up, she whispered. And in that moment, something shifted again. The walls we'd built, anger, pride, resentment, started to crumble. Underneath it all, there was still love. Different now, quieter, wiser. But healing isn't a straight line. Some nights the memories would still ambush me. Her with him, the texts, the lies. I'd wake up sweating, my fists clenched, and she'd be there, whispering, "It's okay, Ethan, it's over. You're safe." Sometimes she'd cry too. We'd hold each other through it. Two survivors of the same war, clinging to the same fragile peace. Then, one morning, I found a letter on the kitchen table. Ethan, if we're really doing this, really starting over, then I need to let the past die. All of it. Including the part of me that hurt you. I'm not that person anymore. So here's my promise. No more ghosts, no more guilt. Just honesty, even when it's hard. And I hope one day you can make the same promise to me. Claire. I stood there for a long time, reading that letter over and over. And for the first time in years, I cried. Not out of anger or regret, but relief. It's been 3 years since the day I found out. 2 years since the revenge. 1 year since we decided to try again. And today, I'm sitting on the same park bench where we first met, watching Claire chase our daughter through the autumn leaves. She looks back at me and smiles. Not the forced, polite smile she used to wear, but a real one. A smile that says, "We made it through." We're not perfect. We still argue. We still hurt sometimes. But we're honest now. And honesty, after everything, feels like the purest kind of love there is. Sometimes I think about Maya, about the man I used to be, and I realize something simple. Revenge didn't save me. Forgiveness did. Not forgiveness for her, forgiveness for myself, for letting anger define me, for letting pain turn me into someone I didn't recognize. The other day, Claire asked me if I still think about what happened. Every now and then, I said, but not like before. She smiled. Then maybe we're really okay. Maybe we are, I said, taking her hand. And for the first time in a long, long time, I believed it. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Love isn't about never breaking. It's about choosing to rebuild, even when it hurts. We both shattered each other once, but in the ruins, we found something stronger. Not passion, not perfection, but peace. And sometimes that's enough.